thank everybody for coming. My name's Jane, if you don't know me. I'm one of the outreach workers here. We have a wonderful woman, Karen Leeds, today, who is going to be presenting to us. And I just wanted to kick it off and say thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you for having me. All right. Welcome, everybody. So I'm new to this presentation thing. We'll keep our fingers crossed. So I'm going to be talking about 24 little-known secrets for a peaceful, happy life at any age. Keep your fingers crossed this all works.
Do we need to write them down, or is there a handout?
What's that?
Do we need to write them down, or is there a handout?
Well, actually, I was going to make a handout, but I didn't.
That's
But
okay.
so hopefully you'll be good. All right. So who am I? I'm Karen Leeds. I'm a life coach and author, and I'm also a dance teacher, a dog walker, which is why I love the dog that was just in here, and a general goofball. So come on in. All right. So about me, I'll wait for people to sit. Hello. Hi. All right. So about me, I was sort of confused as a kid. So my mom used to, she didn't mean anything mean, but she would say, "You idiot." And she would say that a lot. And so I know it was difficult. So, but then one day, I think I was pretty young. I might have been like, I don't know, 10 to 13. And she said, "We had you tested and you have a genius IQ." So
Right.
I was confused. Am I an idiot or a genius? So I started reading personal growth books to understand like these crazy humans at age 14. And so I'm 68. I've been studying this stuff for 54 years. And I actually became a math major because I realized that in math, there's one right answer. So there wasn't any confusion. It was all very clear. And I spent decades, I spent 50-some years reading personal growth books, taking courses, and learning all about people, communication, and relationships. And about 12 years ago, I started life coaching. And I was making a huge difference. Often in one session, I would turn somebody's life around. And sometimes I'd meet with them about 4 different things, 1 hour each thing. And each thing would make, like, one client reestablished a relationship with a parent after 25 years of not speaking to them based on 1 hour of a session with me. So powerful. But then COVID happened and I thought, what if I die and all this knowledge of many decades dies with me? And I didn't want that to happen. So I actually wrote and published my first 3 books in 6 months. I'm not sure I recommend that. That was a little
Very
intense.
quickly.
What's that?
Very quickly.
Yes, it was crazy. 3 books. So, and I brought them, and I'll talk about them. And actually, here, the first one is, the world's longest title, Life's Magic Carousel: How to Grab the Brass Ring Before the Music Stops. It has funny quotes and illustrations, and I wrote them so even a teenager could read them. They're short, they're lighthearted. The second book, Get Out of Your Own Way. And actually, that was the photo on the slide over there. And I realized, like, I'm a strong introvert, so for me to be giving a talk is difficult. And then I thought, maybe I should walk my talk and get out of my own way. And then the third one is Speak So People Hear You. And, and some people say, you mean you have to speak louder? No, it has to do with the way you say it. So we're going to cover a lot of these topics. But, and I also have postcards. Remind me to hand them out. You can actually go on Amazon and peek inside and read the first 10 pages of each if you want.
Can we buy a book?
You can buy them here at the end of the session.
How much?
Yeah, they're $10 each.
$10.
And I have change.
Do you want me to hand the postcards around now?
Oh, you could do, or we could wait till if you
pass
want.
along.
Sure.
Then you won't forget.
Sure. Here.
Coming from an extreme extrovert.
I love it. Thank you. I love it. And feel free. Feel free. All right, so 24 secrets. Secret number 1. I'll wait till you pass those out so we don't have, that's okay.
It's 3 books.
There are 3 books, yep. Oh, and the only thing, my sister apparently flattened one of the books and all the pages fell out. So whatever you do, do not flatten it if you get the book. Okay.
How do you flatten it?
No, so if you take the book and you go like this and you You make the whole thing flat. It's so thin that I guess the binding isn't strong enough and the pages fall out. So I realized I was going to put them in libraries, and I realized I can't. So, all right. So secret number 1, the way you speak to yourself is really important. And that's me and an ex-boyfriend all dressed up as scary people. So don't speak to yourself in that scary way. Your subconscious is actually listening and actually drives 90% of what happens in your life. So if you say to yourself, I'll never amount to anything, I can't hold on to money, don't say those things. Your subconscious is listening, you know? So it's really, really critical. So you want to be kind to yourself. And then secret number 2, the way you speak to others. Now, I found out there's a formula. It's fascinating. And I'll give you an example. When this happens, I feel this way, I want this to happen, or the alternative ending, what can we do about this? So like, I don't know, something like, you know, when there are dishes all over the counter, I feel frustrated. I want to, you know, go to bed and have the kitchen be neat. Or, you know, what can we do about that? And so maybe you figure out, you know, with your partner or your kids or whatever, you figure something out. Oh, and this is, I was trying to come up with a photo for Speak So People Hear You. I know I'm talking to a fake giraffe there, but I ended up not using that photo. It was fun. It was fun. The giraffe was really listening. Okay, secret number 3. Babies are not born mean. And what I mean by that is, like, there aren't good people and bad people. They're just people, and things happen to us. So, you know, like maybe they had mean parents or siblings or bullies at school or neighbors or whatever, you know, a partner, whatever it is, and then people sort of lash out and they do mean things. But people aren't mean. So we want to keep that in mind, so we don't just say, oh, that person's mean, and just write them off. Now, that doesn't mean you need to associate with them, but it's just a different way of looking at it, okay? Secret number 4, forgive but don't forget. So years ago, I was talking to a marriage counselor, and she said, if you kick things under the rug, you'll trip over them later, hence the reason there's a rug there. So, in case you were wondering. So it's really important. We think sometimes we're past things, but we're not. And what I learned is if you don't deal with your emotions when something happened in your life, these things stay in your body and they actually impact you for the rest of your life. So one of the things I learned is you can write a letter to people that have like been mean to you or, you know, been difficult in your life. You can write a letter that you don't send. It's not for them, it's for you. And you're writing it, and it's just so freeing. You get it all down on paper. And even like my parents died like 26 years ago. They got sick 1 month apart and died 4 months apart. And then we sold the house we grew up in. It was very difficult. And I actually, like 9-10 years later, I learned about this. And so I wrote them each a letter. And I started off with, how dare you leave me? Well, that wasn't their choice, you know. But I got past all the sadness and the anger and the frustration, and then I got to the happiness, you know, and I remembered all the good things that had happened with them. And so it was cathartic. It was very freeing. All right. Secret number 5, don't give meaning to things. So I had a client, and if he gave a woman his phone number, he texted her and she didn't respond, he would take to his bed for 2 days. And I coached him. I don't remember if it was an hour or an hour and a half. It was one session. And I said, what if when you asked for her phone number, she said, you seem like a great guy, but this isn't really a romantic connection. I'm sorry. And he said, oh my gosh. So he was making it mean, nobody will want me, I'm a horrible person, I'll be alone the rest of my life. No, like, stop giving interpretation to things. They're just, you texted someone, they didn't respond. Maybe they were in a relationship. Maybe they didn't see it. Maybe, you know, who knows? Who knows? Secret number 6, it's typically more about the other person. So when things happen, instead of like taking it on, don't assume that everything that others say is true, okay? It's really more about them. That's the reason he's pointing. So, you know, like, so if someone says something, and I'll have an example later on that's also an example for something else, that if they say something like, oh, you're so selfish, or oh, what's wrong with you, or, and you can go, that's an interesting viewpoint. You don't have to say, what's wrong with me? So don't take it on, okay? So they're saying something, that's a fact. They said it. Doesn't have to mean more than that. Okay, secret number 7, be curious. Oh my gosh, this was horrible. So not too long ago, a few months ago, I went to an event and there was a woman there and she was speaking really quietly and she said, yeah, this, died. And I thought it was her pet, like her dog. And I said, oh my gosh, I lost my dog too. I'm so sorry. And she got really angry and yelled at me and she said, that was my kid. Oh. And I felt horrible. I can't even imagine having a kid die. But, it was just, I didn't hear her. I didn't understand. And apparently it just happened the week before. It was horrible. But it was funny. By that point, it took me my whole life to I was actually such a strong introvert. I walked around looking at the ground most of my life. So for me to be up here, this is huge. So just so you know, people, we can change. But, in the past, I would have said, oh, I'm a horrible person. That was awful of me. And I was like, wow, I feel bad that I didn't understand. But that doesn't mean I'm a bad person, right? So you can be curious and say, oh my gosh, okay, she's striking out.
Can I make a point to that?
Yes,
Because it goes back to your
please.
other slide, back to it's about them.
Yes.
Because they could have, of course they were angry, but sad would have been more the way to express to you.
Response, right?
Yes.
You didn't realize.
They could even do that formula I gave you when you thought it was my pet, or when you said it was my pet, I got really upset and sad. I want you to understand it was my kid. And if she said it like that instead of yelling, that's a better, more effective way to communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't have to make people wrong when we communicate. Oh, in fact, I'm not even getting at it in this, but just to throw out there. I read this amazing book called Raising Abel, and you guys are all about my age, which means you probably don't have young kids, but grandkids or whatever. There's a way to say things. So if this is in one of my books, probably speak so people hear you. There's a way to say something. So if you've got a teenager or something, a kid, and there's junk all over the floor, instead of saying, what's wrong with you? Your room is a mess. Go pick it up. Well, they're going to, as soon as they hear what's wrong with you, they're going to stop listening. But if you say, I want there to be nothing on the floor of your room except your furniture and rugs, and chair, whatever, okay, so instead of saying you're such a sloppy mess, you don't have to characterize someone. You can just keep it to the facts, right? So you can say, I found, there's a banana peel on the floor of your room, there's socks, there's whatever, you could just stick with the facts. All right, secret number 8, setting boundaries. So I had there was an elderly neighbor and I was trying to be helpful. And I try and stay in touch with her once a week. And I called her at one point. I said, how are things? And she said, things are terrible. And I said, what's going on? And she said, COVID. And I said, oh my gosh, you have COVID? And she said, no. I said, oh, so things are terrible because there's COVID in the world. And I'm like, okay. But COVID was with us for years and still is. It's you could have that define your life, or you could just say, you know what? So I decided, every time I met with her, she would drag me down, and I decided, you know what, I was trying to do her a favor, and I decided no longer. I'm stopping. So I stopped, and she had other friends, so it wasn't, and I felt like I wasn't helping. Secret number 9, people have different strengths. Okay, so I have learned that I go out walking with my daughter, and I can't find our way home. She's really good at that. I have no clue. I've been on meetup walks and things like that, same thing. I have absolutely no sense of direction, but I can change someone's life in one coaching session. So people have different strengths, so it's okay. We don't have to be perfect. In fact, my next book is Humans Are Not Perfect. So we aren't. We expect ourselves to be. We're not. Okay? Secret number 10, we want to listen to understand. So even if you just, I know it sounds silly, but if you take one breath when someone's speaking at you and you get upset or something, if you just breathe, just for a second, just inhale and exhale, it's just a way to kind of ground yourself and say, okay, what's going on here? So instead of like lashing out, getting upset or whatever, the first thing that comes to your mind, you want to say, okay, what's happening? So we don't have to say the first thing that comes into our head. Like, shut up, don't talk to me like that. That's that doesn't usually go over well. Okay. All right. Secret number 11. Oh, and that's similar to what I was just saying. So respond, don't react. Okay. So we don't have to jump to those feelings. All right. I like the cat hiding behind the pillow. So sometimes I'll tell clients that if you're angry, like go punch a pillow. It's a way to get the feelings out without taking them out on someone or something else, okay? Even taking them out on your cat. All right. Secret number 12, be grateful. What was that?
I said that would be bad, taking it out on your cat.
Absolutely, I know, right? And people sometimes do take things out on their pets, if people aren't around. Secret number 12, be grateful. So I learned this years ago, and I do this every night. I write down 3 things I'm grateful for every night before bed. And I try and make them different, so I'm not writing down the same 3 things. And it puts you in a good place. It's like everything has a silver lining. So, and people tell me, they're like, you're so happy all the time. And I'm like, oh yeah, how long do you have? Like there are things going on in my life. But you know what? If you are grateful for the good things going on, it puts you in a much better place, Secret number 13, people feel appreciated in different ways. So I don't know, how many of you have heard of the 5 love languages? Yeah? A couple, okay. So the 5 love languages, so there are 5 different ways that people like to give and receive love. And this, let me tell you, this can be really effective. If there are people in your life and you don't understand what motivates them, this can be really helpful. So my daughter and I are into quality time and physical touch. So we love to go to like the Southwick Zoo. There's a little goat pen and you can play with the baby goats. In fact, one time we went in there and there were these 2-day-old baby goats and I asked if we could pet them and she said, do you want to hold them? So we each got to hold one of these, like I've never seen a goat that small. It was fabulous. So that's what makes us feel loved. And with other people, there are things like words of affirmation. So like, wow, you're so good at building that. Or, whatever, you're so good at writing. Whatever it is, they want to hear, some people want to hear that. Acts of service. Some people do things like they mow your lawn, they wash your dishes, they, take out the trash, because that's a way of showing love. And so that, that's how they connect. And then other people like gifts. In fact, I remember years ago, I did some traveling. And I would come home and my young daughter was like, what'd you bring me? And I'd be like, nothing. And so then I learned I could be at the airport and I could spend $1 or something. I'd buy her some little trinket and she'd be like, oh, because she loves that. That's, I don't understand gifts. I would get gifts and I'd go, what the heck do I do with this? And do I have to display it somewhere? It wasn't something that worked for me. But. All right. Secret number 14, be vulnerable. So it's okay to have feelings. You don't need to hide, And, my whole life I was really kind of hiding and nobody knew anything about me. And I've been a goofball my whole life. And I know that I'm letting down my walls when I share that with people. In fact, I'm going to share something with you and apparently with Stow TV on YouTube. So I bought this top to give a talk and I get to the checkout and the woman says, don't you want the matching pants? And I said, they're matching pants? She said, yeah, those are pajamas. And I went, okay, I'm going to wear pajamas to give a talk. And I'm thinking, I could wear the whole outfit. I'm like, no, even I am not wearing a full thing of pajamas. So I'm wearing a pajama top just for you. But normally I wouldn't say that out loud. But, it's like I loved, in fact, I was at one point taking people shopping for clothes. And I loved like the color, the fabric, the fit, those things are important. In fact, this summer recently I just bought for an elderly friend who was, she was being taken care of after the hospital. I can't remember what that's called, a care place. And she had lost 60 pounds and none of her shirts fit. So I went and bought her 3 shirts, having no idea her size, what color she liked, what fabric. She loved all 3 of them. So I guess it worked. But in any case, so I'm now being vulnerable. I told you about my pajamas, so okay. Being authentic. I know these sound kind of similar. So you don't want to hide who you are. These are just like New Orleans masks. I love it. Unless you're, COVID, you're wearing a mask. But really, the more you can just be who you are, and I'm not saying throw it out there at complete strangers, but you can share and be who you are. You don't have to be like, oh, people don't do that. And I'm not saying do anything outrageous, but you can actually be who you are and not feel like you have to like conform to some standard. We don't all have to be the same. Secret 16, stop trying to be perfect. Okay, we aren't perfect. I was in a restaurant, I was talking to my daughter, and I was just like looking at her the whole time. She said, "Isn't this place amazing?" And I went, "What?" And I looked, and there was all this decor on the walls, on the ceiling. Like, I don't even remember the name of the restaurant. It was incredible. And I hadn't even looked. So it's like, that's okay. That's okay. I was focused on her, right? All right. Now, secret 17. This is huge. Words are only 6 to 7% of communication, which is crazy. So communication is mainly made up of tone of voice, gestures, body language. So that's 93 to 94%. So if somebody says, "How's this outfit look on me?" and you go, oh yeah, that looks really good on you. Like you're saying, your words are saying, yes, that looks really good on you, but your tone and your gestures are not. So pay attention. Like that's important. So if you ask someone, "How are you?" and they go, "Fine." No, they're not. Or like this little dog here. With roof. It just barked. Okay, secret number 18. Tune into what you want, not what you think you should want or what others think you should want. It's stop shoulding on yourself is what I tell people. And so I'll tell clients, like they'll say, "I don't know what I want." I say, okay, pretend you won the lottery. If you won the lottery, you won $1 million, what would you do? And I know that's like money freedom, time freedom. But if you look at that and you go, would I choose to do this? So maybe someone's working a job and they hate it. They hate it. Okay, they need the money, but maybe they could get a different job. So it's one way of looking at it and going, huh. Or like if you really want to travel, maybe you could be a, whatever that's called, have that be your job, being like a tour operator or something. I love the jump in the sky. Okay, secret number 19, worry is a waste of time and energy. So some people think they worry all day long. Let me tell you, it's really hard to do that. So what I tell people is set a timer, 15, 20 minutes, and worry that whole time, and you can't do anything else. Do you know how hard it is to just worry for 15 to 20 minutes? That is really hard to do. So you may think you're worrying all day long if you're a worrier, but and you can even do it 2 or 3 times a day. You just say, "This is my worry time," and then you put it aside. And often we worry, what if this happens? And it doesn't. And just like, what a waste, right? Crazy. All right. Secret number 20, a sense of humor is powerful. Okay, so this, laughing at yourself, I wouldn't laugh at other people. Laughing at yourself or laughing with others. It makes such a difference. So recently I got injured at a dance. I was walking, this was just a couple weeks ago, I was walking off the dance floor and a guy was backing onto the dance floor, bringing his partner, not looking where he was going. I think he was wearing street shoes and he kicked me really hard in the ankle. I ended up swollen and bruised and in pain for weeks. And it healed, it finally healed. I did have to leave the dance. It was a 4-day dance weekend. Fortunately, I made it through 3 days, so, most of it. But it was funny. I was emailing a friend who had been at the dance. She had missed that part of it. And I emailed and I told her what happened, and this was amazing. She said, "I am so sorry you were injured by a careless, backward-walking, street shoe-wearing guy." And ever since then, when I would think about it, I would no longer get upset. I would just get this big smile on my face, because it was no longer this, it would bring anger. It would bring a smile. So you can reframe things, So instead of that was a horrible thing, and why did he do that? And he wasn't paying attention. Right, he wasn't. But I don't have to dwell on it. I can laugh like that horse is laughing. Secret number 21, notice your attitude. Is it positive or negative? So a couple years ago, it might have even been last year, I was going to do my taxes, and I said, I hate doing my taxes. I have to do my taxes. I must do my taxes. I should do my taxes. I need to do my taxes. And then I said, I choose to do my taxes. And let me tell you, my tax experience was so different, so different. I actually, okay, that's crazy, I know. I enjoyed doing my taxes. And it took much less time. There wasn't that, I wasn't fighting it, you know? It was like, okay, I'm doing the taxes. So normally I think, okay, this is gonna take like a week. It took like 2 days. I was like, interesting. So your attitude makes a difference. Secret number 22. Look around at nature. It can be really grounding. In fact, recently I've been like bringing a book outdoors because instead of reading at home, I've joined a book club and things, so I'm reading a lot more. And I realized like, yeah, I can read at home or I can go outside, be under a tree, hear the birds, you know, see the flowers. And it just, I don't know, it's just very centering. So the more you can be out in nature, the better. Secret number 23. Be social with positive people, you know, and it's really funny. During COVID, I was seeing nobody. I was just hanging out by myself, you know, like every once in a while I'd see my daughter, that was it. But I started talking to people like at the grocery store. I had to still buy food. I'd be wearing my mask. And I'm still doing it now, talking to complete strangers at the grocery store, CVS, places like that. And it's really funny. Sometimes those are my best conversations, which is crazy. But I also realize it's giving the other person that connection too. So, you know, it's helping them out as well. Secret number 24, give back. So I do that in a couple of ways. One of the things, I started returning grocery carts for people. I know that sounds silly. So sometimes there'll be someone with a little kid and they're trying to deal with everything. I'm like, can I return your cart for you? And in fact, the other day I returned a guy's cart because I realized I'm usually returning women's carts. And I asked a guy and he's like, wow, like he really appreciated it. And then one time this woman burst into tears. She was like, she was elderly. And she was just like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And it sounds silly, but sometimes when you give back, you're giving so much more to yourself than you're giving to the people that you're doing it for. So, all right. Okay, so as I mentioned, my 3 books on Amazon. You can actually go to my website and on the postcard, lifecoachingmagic.com/books. There's a link to each of them, and then you can peek inside, read the first like 10 to 13 pages. And what else did I? Okay, and and I think I mentioned this already. They're lighthearted, short, and written, so even a teenager could read them. And I didn't want them just to be text, so the first one I did funny quotes and illustrations. And then the illustrator, that took so long. So for the second book, I was like, well, what can I do on my own? So I actually wrote 30 poems in 2 days for the book to illustrate the points.
30 poems?
I can be a little crazy sometimes, yes. And then the third one, I actually wrote 9 short stories in 2 days. I already had like 12 that I had previously written. So yeah, I can, and actually this presentation, Jane had asked if I needed a projector. And so I actually yesterday spent 2 hours and put this together. I was just gonna come in and read it to you. And I'm so glad I did this with the pictures instead. So, all right, so now I wanna do a Q&A session, question and answer. Questions about anything I've talked about. Questions about communication, relationships, even the relationship with yourself in your own head. Questions about any kind of frustration in life. And you can buy my books if you want at the end for $10 each. And if you want, if you feel uncomfortable with the camera on, we can turn off the camera for the questions. So you let me know. But any questions?
You read Carnegie, yes?
Do I?
Carnegie about this question, a lot of write, a lot of book about this stuff.
Oh, Carnegie?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't heard of Carnegie.
She is
Okay.
very famous.
Oh.
She wrote a lot of books, a lot of famous, richest people read his books.
Oh.
In America and everywhere in the world.
Wow.
Whole country reading these books.
I'll have to check it
Very,
out.
very
Yeah.
nice book. It's about how relationship and like you told about this. He wrote a lot of books.
Wow, good to know.
Yeah.
I think my first book that I read at age 14 was I'm Okay, You're Okay. I don't know if you've read that.
Yeah.
A couple of you have read that. You know, and there are people that, it's just there are four ways to be. I'm okay and you're okay. I'm okay and you're not okay. We've all known people like that. You know, like they're just negative toward you, but they're kind of narcissistic. And then there's I'm not okay and you are. That's kind of sad. Those are kind of victims. And then there are people that are like, I'm not okay and you're not either. That's completely negative. But you really want to be in that I'm okay, you're okay box. And it's amazing. You can change a relationship that might be negative. You think you can't. You think they're set in stone. They're not. And if you go into like a conversation expecting it to go badly, again, your subconscious is listening. So what you want to do is just start with a clean slate. Say, okay, we're starting over. Like even though this relationship might have been negative in the past, let me just look at it as what's possible, you know? So that book was very powerful.
You write this book, this example, like story or like tales and so on.
Yes.
Like proverbs and so on you show in these books.
Yes, so the first book has funny quotes on one, a funny quote and an illustration.
Mhm.
So the book is like 82 pages, probably 44 of them are, you know.
Example stories.
Yes, exactly.
It's
And
good because stories is good for children. If they write only this
Right.
stuff, they don't like to read. If they read a story,
Yes.
they like the example, they write. It's good.
that's why I did it, because I know there are people, they get kind of cross-eyed. And in fact, one of my relatives said they don't read, they're dyslexic. They read 2 of my books. So
it's free books with stories too.
So the
Oh.
first one has funny quotes and illustrations. The second one has poems, and the third one has short stories. And I did that because I know if someone's just reading, they kind of their eyes cross and then they stop paying attention. I didn't want anybody to like put it down.
It's good.
So I made them like entertaining. So yeah.
Because it's more interesting reading if poems or stories or something
Absolutely.
interesting and looking and example have. It's good. Even for children, it's the best.
Yes, well, and also to explain. So if that's why I gave an example for each of the 24 points. So instead of just saying be authentic and then going to the next one, wait, what does that mean? I want to give an example of it, yeah.
Yeah, I understand because my whole family scientists, and they wrote a lot of books. And
Yep.
Parents at his academician psychology, he
Right.
wrote a lot of books.
Right, right.
He teach here professors and the universities teach how do it like that.
It makes such a difference. I didn't want it just to be text, and I wanted to be able to reach even teenagers because I thought it's great. I have talks at these councils on aging, which is great. And at the same time, I also want to reach out to younger people because can you imagine if you knew these things as a teenager, how different your life would be? So I really want to get this out.
It's good.
Yeah.
Now begin do that. What like Carnegie, like you, like famous people do that. It's very good. Need begin from little child do
Absolutely.
that because they didn't grow then like crazy,
Right.
like yelling, like punch somebody, so on. It's good.
Absolutely, thank you.
So
Yes.
have you done like presentations in a library or school?
I haven't, but I am going to do that.
I
And
love that, get the kids.
yes, yeah.
You have to go in school, even in kindergarten, from little then.
I know. I was going to talk to go talk to like a principal or whoever would do it and just see if I could get someone interested. Yeah,
The
absolutely.
counseling departments.
Good point.
Yeah,
Good
guidance
point.
counseling.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
It's very good.
good. Other questions?
It's just a good reminder, a lot of these things we probably have heard before or know.
Yes,
And
yes.
just kind of, I got to get up every morning and practice.
Okay, you got to or you choose to?
Choose to.
It sounds silly, but I'm like, oh, I've got to do these 3 errands. And I go, wait, I
think
choose to
if
do.
everybody use these 24 rules, easy life will be for
Every-
everybody.
Just,
From
yes.
us.
Think how much easier everyone's, the whole
Yeah.
world, just think about all the disagreements and all the things, like how much smoother it would be.
Because
Yeah, if we treat each other as if we're all, heaven forbid, human. Yeah, right.
yelling and punching and so on and
No.
upset. I speak like this, nice and smiling to each other and love each other like near, right? Love is answer before. Did you see on the road?
Yeah.
No?
Before.
Oh, yes,
It's
yes,
very
there's a
good.
sign, love is the
Yeah.
answer. I
It's,
love that walking
somebody
in.
write this, it's very good. Come and negative go down.
I love it, yes.
So how would you characterize the 3 books? I mean, are they all similar messages, just delivered in a different way? Or
You
how
know
are they different? Because I'm intrigued with the speak so people hear you, and I thought, okay, it doesn't sound like this. but-
It's really funny. So first I did like a brain dump to get to the first book, and actually this is embarrassing, and a friend said don't tell anyone, and of course I tell people. So I wrote it in 2014, June of 2014, in a virtual write a book in a weekend. So I wrote it in 3 days. And then, I know, and then I had to get it illustrated, and I was dealing with an illustrator, and he hadn't illustrated before. And I would say, this is what I have in mind. And then he'd do something, and I go, wait, I don't understand it. And he'd explain it. And then he got, I don't remember, he got sick or got in an accident or something. And like, it just, I didn't do anything with it. And then in August of 2022, I finally published it.
Which
And-
is that? Could you hold it up? Which one?
This one, Life's Magic Carousel, How to Grab the Brass Ring Before the Music Stops. Note to self, do not have a 13-word title, way too long.
And is that sort of this text, this is
Yeah.
a condensed version of this book? Or
So this has things from all 3 books. So I wrote this one, and then 8 years later published it. And then the other 2 were PowerPoint presentations. So they kind of exist already, and I turned them into books. But yeah, it's like, I don't always remember exactly what's in each book. I think this one has 10 points. You can go on Amazon, you can peek inside, or you can, get them here.
They 3 of them different.
They all have different things in them, yes. And then
Because can take free. It's
Right,
better.
right.
We'll
Yeah,
know everything.
I know, it's really funny. I was talking with someone, and she was saying, I was giving a talk, and it was $30 to come to the talk, and she said, I can't afford that. And then I found out she was learning to make one meal for $30. It was a cooking thing. And I was like, okay, she could turn her life around. I was like laughing, This one is really the things we do that get in our own way in life. So all 3 are very helpful. And I can't tell you exactly what things are.
I can take them and write all name and then tomorrow bring money. Can do it.
Oh,
You can go to desk.
Oh,
They
if you-
know everybody know name, know everything about us. Where we
Yeah.
live.
you know what? I can leave the books here and
They
yes.
can give whom they know.
Abs-
Right, and tomorrow can bring money. Who have not money.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because somebody have not money, somebody have not enough.
Right.
If they write everybody.
Yeah, yeah,
Shipping.
Yeah,
Yeah, it will be good for you, for us.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we can take them.
yeah. And then this, right, speak so people hear you. So these are the 3. This is actually funny. We were trying, my daughter is a photographer, so she took the first and the 3rd photos. So we were on this, there was a merry-go-round. We were trying to get me talking to this fish on the merry-go-round. They wouldn't stop it for us, so I had to pay for like 6 rides. She took like 70 photos, so we'd have like 10 seconds. So I'd be like, it was funny. So we did finally get the photo, but yeah.
It's good. I know a lot of people want maybe take, maybe not only we are.
Oh,
who
yeah,
come
yeah.
Here, maybe different people
I'll leave
who
'em.
come. If you left on the desk,
Yeah.
they put there, example, 3 books are all take out.
Absolutely.
We'll give who wants, because A lot of people didn't come.
Sure.
Somebody knows, somebody didn't know, somebody on the rest, because now summer, a lot of people didn't go now.
I'm happy to do that. I'll talk to Jane and make sure it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And other questions? Any issues in life? Any issues with people in your life, or is everything perfect? And we can turn off if you guys want to ask questions and not have it recorded for posterity. We can do that as well.
I do grapple with one, but,
Yeah.
and one of your slides spoke of it. but-
Okay.
And you're being, is it a life coach or a
Life coach, not a
Yeah.
therapist. Yep.
So, I'm sure there's a connected route, and it is in today's world of texting
Yep.
more. So,
Yep.
So I have several people that they're just not organized, they're not good planners.
Okay.
Busy with their own, and, I mean, I have a basic belief that anybody can do anything that they want.
Sure.
You can make anything happen. You could say, I want to go to my friend's house for dinner next week, so I'm gonna give them a call and see if they want to do it.
Ahead of time, you mean, and think about that and
Yeah,
plan
make
ahead?
a plan to do that, because you're thinking about that person
Sure.
and you're wanting to get together. But then the people who I've had issues with have expressed interest, and because it's more of a texting world, then I might say, oh, well, there's an interesting lecture happening next week at this place, and then crickets, hear nothing back.
Oh.
So my pet peeve is either say, not really my thing, which I do have friends that do.
Yep,
They get right
yep.
back and they say that. Or, that sounds fun, sort of like, well, you're not saying, but you want to do it.
Right.
But for me, it's the worst, nothing at all. And so
Yeah.
I can either say, well, I can make one more move and say,
Mm-hmm.
so what do you think? And then, well, that's kind of poking, or leave it and then be mad maybe,
Yep.
learning. It's
Yep.
them, it's not me, but I'm not wanting to put any more effort
Right.
into.
Right.
So it's sort of a loss.
So a couple questions. This is great. I love this. Don't you like being coached in front of a group? So are you making it mean something? Like, they don't respect me, or,
Value.
or they don't value me, they don't prioritize me, and, I wanted to plan this and now I can't do it. What if you said, please let me know if you're interested? Or you could even say, please let me know now, respond to my text right now and let me know if you want to go.
Oh, it's a good idea.
Sounds like a great tweak. I will say that for one of them, I did add, after 3
Yep,
choices of things, like a
Yep.
concert, do any of these interest you? Because
yeah.
when I saw them, they said, oh, that was so fun, I'm so glad we did adventures. So that to me says, oh, okay, they want more. I'll offer
Yes.
more.
Yeah,
And then
interesting for them.
offer it, added, do any of these. And then nothing, so my other friend said, don't take it personally,
Right.
she's a workaholic,
That's right.
puts work in front of everything, but so for
Right.
me, I try to grapple with well, clearly I'm not valued enough, and so
Ah.
I'm not gonna put out any more effort.
Yep, yep. Yeah, so it's, like what you're making it mean, or like maybe they're busy, who knows? Who knows? Maybe they're like, oh, and then they forgot about it.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just weren't sure, maybe they're indecisive, you
All
don't
of the
know.
above. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it's like, you don't have to take it personally. If you don't hear from someone and you reach out again and you don't hear, you just assume they're not interested. And if they go, oh, I wanted to go, you go, oh, I didn't hear from you. So like, there are consequences And actually, that's one way when you're parenting, like the Raising Abel book, there are consequences. They don't have to be mean, it's just like, I want this, and if it doesn't happen, this is, if you don't go to bed by whatever time, this is going to happen. And it doesn't have to, like maybe this weekend you don't get to play with a friend or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be horrible, but it's, I understand completely. I hate the unresponded to text. But what that tells me is either they're not interested or they're busy or they're just not organized, so yeah. Yeah, yep.
Just let me add to the slide
Yes.
about communications.
Yep,
And so you're getting the 7% texting communication.
Right.
If you had done it in person, you would have seen the other 90 whatever percent.
That is-
And you would have known, I lost them, they're not interested.
Right.
Where you're
That
missing
is-
all that context.
that is huge, yes. So often if I want to know, if, like pretty soon, I'll call. Because then you get and you start to hear what's going on. But yes, very, very, look at that, she was paying attention. I love that. I love
Maybe
that.
you didn't even know the percent before.
Oh, I
assume.
definitely
Yeah.
didn't know. I wouldn't have.
And the other, the thing, you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with. So maybe there's some, and I'm not saying cut them off, but I'm saying consider, are there people that are always like frustrating you or annoying you in your life? And unless they're relatives or someone that you really need to keep seeing, like maybe it's a consideration. Maybe I don't need to see this person as often, or, it's like, so if they're always making you unhappy, that's worth paying attention to. Yeah. Data point, yeah. Yeah.
Now different life, not like before. Before children
Yes.
play with each other,
Yes.
go outside, and people, neighbors speak with each other, and everybody together. And now everybody divided. TV,
They're on their phone,
computer, phone,
right,
and
right.
everybody. Don't forget about everybody.
It's
Even parents busy and children by themselves. It's good you pick up this stuff because now need from little children again teach them reading books. They didn't read books, only playing, and that's all. It even didn't want to go outside and playing. They want sitting and playing on computer or on the phone.
It's tricky. Little kids are not learning social skills, and it's really sad. And like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever see someone crossing the street
Yeah.
on their phone.
And even
Makes me nervous.
And go in car, go near, I
Yep.
grab and take out. What are you doing? What?
Yes.
Looking at me. What? I
Yes.
said, car there. Oh, he didn't see even car. He didn't hear.
Yes, scary. It's
Didn't see
scary.
anything.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Need begin. I think preschool and kindergarten and high the finish school and university because people now not connected with each other. Don't
Oh.
speaking. Cannot speak even.
It would just make such a difference if we were curious and understanding about each other instead of being oppositional. It really does make
But
a
it's
difference.
people
Yeah.
sitting here, different people.
Right,
They
right.
speaking, they understand, they help each other,
Right,
they
right.
Communicated.
This is a great
Take
community.
different
Yeah.
what, it's
Right.
from children.
Right.
And no, maybe before 40 years. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
Even
No.
ask questions and looking at you like stranger. Sitting and do it, cannot answer on questions. Ask where the street. He is going and sitting on the street. Please
I-
tell me what the street
I
where
hear
I
you.
can find. He didn't hear. What? Busy.
Wasn't in the real world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A different world. Need to again come back to good books,
Sure.
famous writer and poems and so on. Nobody even remember poems. I even now remember a lot of poems and can read without book, tell all poems. They didn't know anything.
Right. Okay, you
Mhm.
just reminded me. So I wrote my first poem at age 5. And I think I remember it. It's bunnies everywhere, hopping all around the square. Come on now and give a cheer. and I don't know if it's for the bunny or bunnies of the year. I don't think it has to do with Playboy bunny, but maybe it's bunny. I don't even know what that
No,
meant.
it's good.
But the
It's
amazing thing
very
is
good.
not just that I wrote it at age 5, right, but that I remember it. You know,
Yeah.
like that's pretty scary. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And remember, and you thinking and believing and pretending something. Are
Yep.
they don't thinking, don't pretending, don't believe anything. You don't see even nature because
Oh,
only looking there.
right. I
and
know.
go on the road.
I know. Any other questions? It's all perfectly clear? Okay.
We are grateful.
Thank you. Thank you.